Are you ready for a reboot? Welcome to the Sheila Mack Show, reality at its finest. History reminds us those hit hardest often become the change makers. This year, we've all hit crazy economic, social, and emotional rock bottoms. We all get knocked down. Something hits globally, locally, personally. It affects our health, finances, our relationships. We have to recreate a business or career. Each show, Sheila and her special guest will be sharing their reboot stories, guiding you with real solutions to upgrade and up-level emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, and financially. Here on NBC's KCAA Radio.
Welcome to the show. I am your host, Sheila Mack, and I'd like to thank our sponsor today, Grindology magazine, and they actually have a special gift. They are giving listeners today a free gift copy of the Grindology Tactical Manual when you text 214-214-4933. So if you are an entrepreneur, starting a side gig, or looking for proven tactics from other founders, then Grindology is for you. Every page and every issue contains real tactics and strategies from the real founders and business leaders. For your free copy of the Grindology Tactical Manual, text 214-214-4933. And now for today's special guest. We actually have two rock star guests in the house today. And so stay tuned. Here we go with our first guest.
Welcome to the Sheila Mack Show, reality at its finest. Here we have real people sharing real stories and actionable steps to help you reinvent, rebuild, and reboot your life on your terms. I'm Sheila Mack, your host, and today we have special guest Angelo Christian. Angelo is an investor, entrepreneur, and author. He is noted as one of the top producing loan originators in the country. As the CEO of Christian Financial, Angelo has helped tens of thousands of people with his influential coaching, real estate university, wealth management, and mortgage banking. In addition, he has authored such sought-after books as King of Real Estate and 10 Habits of Highly Successful Loan Originators. Mm-hmm. He's been featured in many podcasts and shows, CNN, Good Morning America. He grew up in an interesting and adverse environment which included poverty, homelessness, health issues, and being overweight. Rising from these disadvantages, he created a multi-million-dollar company. So this is incredible. Welcome to the show, Angelo.
Wow, I love that introduction. that reminds me of everything I got to do tomorrow. So.
Oh, no. Yes, so I would love to have you share with the audience your backstory and how you went from homelessness and struggling with different things to success that you have now.
Yeah, it's a great topic, and I like that you're wanting to dive into this, because I think that there's not enough people that are doing that and showing how transformation can actually happen. And because a lot of people, they think that that their past equals their future, and that they're born into a certain household or environment, and they're succumb to that, for the rest of their life. And I love Rocky stories. I love those type of stories where somebody comes along and defies the odds. And so yeah, I mean, basically, and I'm very grateful for you having me on the show today. And my story, hopefully you guys that are watching this can, get some inspiration out of it, and it can help to transform your life. So it's a true story. I grew up in Houston, Texas, from a lower class family. My father was an immigrant, and my mother was an American citizen. My father's from Iran, and he was a hardworking guy, but he wasn't really committed to the family. He met my mother, and they had 5 children together, and basically they weren't a match. They fought all the time. It was a very abusive relationship. And I was the oldest of the 5 brothers and sisters. I was the elder. And so I was there kind of as a companion to my mother, taking care of her. And he was essentially a deadbeat. He didn't pay the bills. He didn't really manage anything right. We never owned a home. We were evicted out of many different houses that we lived in, living in hotels. And on top of that, I was also morbidly obese when I was a child. Since I was born, because of him, in their culture, they really, the way he was brought up, they didn't really have a good child development with feeding the children. So I was overfed and I overate. And so, when I was 10 years old, I weighed 200 pounds, as a little boy. And so I got picked on really bad and beat up in school. And I was bullied very bad in school. So, and that was the kind of life that I had. I mean, basically, so the reason why I'm painting this picture for you guys out there that are listening, because I want to take you back to that time so you can kind of see what I was dealing with mentally, psychologically, emotionally, living in hotels, living in cars, seeing my dad beat my mom, he was addicted to drugs, and then getting beat up at school. So, and then I dropped out of school when I was in the 6th grade, because I couldn't handle the teachers, the coaches. They would abuse me and bully me. Back in the 80s, it was much more predominant than it is today. But so that was the going concern. And I didn't have anyone around me, like I didn't have a Warren Buffett or an Anthony Robbins as a father figure, or as a guide, to show me, how to be or what to do. Right. This was my norm. This was my environment. So I got up to, at 17 years old, I weighed almost 400 pounds.
Wow.
Had a heart attack.
Oh.
And my father ended up leaving the family and abandoning us, my 5 brothers and my sisters. And so I dropped out of school in the 6th grade. And I'm working 3 jobs, meager, lower wage jobs to take care of the family. And we're living in a weekly rental and just living day by day,
Mm-hmm.
and that was my life for a few years. And so what finally happened, Sheila, this was when I was about 18 years old, a few things happened. We basically, the only car that we had ended up getting repossessed because we couldn't afford the payment. And so I ended up having to walk to work. It was 7 miles one way. I worked for Romano's Macaroni Grill. Back in the day, there was an Italian restaurant called Romano's Macaroni Grill, and I was a line cook there. And we were staying at a weekly rental, and I had to, again, walk 7 miles one way. And so that was my life, and I just didn't see any way out of it. Right? I'm a dropout. I'm making $10 an hour. My mom's a waitress at Olive Garden. I got 4 brothers and sisters. They're all out of school. They're living in this little hotel room. Mm. And I didn't, that was my future. And so basically, a few things happened at that time. Essentially, I hit rock bottom. Looking back at it now, I can say that. And I really did. No car, no future, no money, no health. And and there was a couple things that happened. I guess it was maybe God or spontaneous. There was a girl that I was really, really attracted to. And at that time, and she was one of my best friend's older sister, and I really, really liked her a lot. And I knew deep inside, that she would never want to go with a guy like me because of the way I looked. And that's how I perceived myself. So I got enough motivation from that to start exercising. And in addition to that, the movie Rocky has been my favorite movie for my whole life. Rocky 1, 2, 4. And when I was walking home one night from work, the Rocky song "No Easy Way Out" came on. It's from Rocky 4. I don't know if you've seen that movie, but you should watch it. If you guys have not seen that movie, you should watch it. It's when Rocky fights the Russian, and the Russian kills Apollo Creed. And that song by Robert Tepper comes on, No Easy Way Out. You got to listen to that. And anyway, I was walking home, had my Walkman on, and it was just like a lightning bolt hit me. That I'm 400 pounds, so I can't walk. I can barely walk, and I start running to the music. It was like just this massive burst of adrenaline that came inside of me, and I never ran before in my life, And so I started running to the music, and I ran about, it was midnight. I'm getting off from the restaurant on the weekend, and ran all the way from the restaurant to the hotel, 7 miles, and then from there, I fell in love with exercise and running. I became a runner. And so that was happening the same time that, the sexual attraction to the female species. And so that was the motivation. And then basically the catalyst to take me to the next level was exercising, and then getting into a routine with dieting, eating the proper foods. It was that I needed that little catalyst right there. So I started to exercise. Essentially what happened was all the weight flew off in a year. I lost 200 pounds. Wow. And then everything started to build a momentum. Hey, you got to get into school. You got to get your education. So I went and got my GED. Then I went to enrolled in University of Houston, Bauer College of Business for finance and economics. Then my confidence is building. So this is slowly starting to build. And so inevitably what ends up happening is that I, go to school for finance and learn, how the markets work, mortgage banking. So that's the backstory, Sheila, of what happened, in the last, when I was, an early adult, young teen.
Wow. I think that's incredible. And it's so interesting. I was also homeless from 10 to 13, and then went to foster care 13 to 15, and then emancipated and went to college early. So it's something that happens, and it's interesting that you are working in the home field or home and business where you're helping people with mortgages now because you didn't have a home.
Right.
And you're helping other people figure out how to actually get a home at some point. Yeah. And that is a beautiful thing. I mean, I actually invested in my first triplex when I was 18 and a half, and have lots of properties from gift stores, and then I ended up buying the buildings and this and that. And so it's one of my other things that I do is I teach an online real estate course. And I do refer people to you, like I mentioned earlier before we got on the show. And so because people need help sometimes, especially when they're doing a first time buy, or this year, because this year has been incredibly difficult. Right. We have had every situation. Right. And so for those listening in, one thing I wanted to share real quick, I'm like the unofficial spokesperson for 211. And so if you're listening and you are in one of those situations where you're homeless, or you're struggling with rent, maybe you might be getting kicked out, or maybe you're struggling to pay your mortgage, there's different options out there. But if you go to 211, Google 211 and your state, you will find a list of resources, food banks, housing help, how to get out of the rock bottom when it's really, really difficult and get back on track. So that's something, getting out of an abusive situation. You talked about abusive family and that. So they have all the resources, and each state has the local resources for that state. And I would say probably 60% of the people I survey have never heard about this. And this year is the first time they've ever probably needed it. So it's really important to get that out there. If you're listening and you know somebody even that's struggling, you give them an ear and listen and help them as you can. But just giving them that information is going to get them more help quickly. So
I wasn't even aware of that.
Yes. So, very important, depending on where people are. So I'd love for you to share a little bit about how you do help people with the mortgages and all that you're doing now.
Right. And then, so basically fast forward, I got into the mortgage industry in 2005. And so the thing that the biggest thing that we're different, I think is really important here, because there's a ton of mortgage companies, banks, and all that kind of stuff. The biggest thing on how we're different is we really put in the effort, go the extra mile to try and figure out how to solve somebody's problem, solve for X, whatever their situation, whether they're self-employed, they can't document their income, they came from another country overseas and they don't have, proper immigration status, or they're a first-time buyer and maybe they don't have all the funds for down payment. Maybe their credit's a little shaky. They need help with cleaning up their credit. Maybe, something happened, and we do commercial lending too, or something happened with COVID, they were affected and they need some type of relief, to get their business up and running. So that's how we're really different. Where a lot of lenders in our industry, they want the easy deal, 800 credit score, 20% down, no problems, So, which, I mean, of course we accept that, but how we're really different is we'll take the guy that's got a 580 credit score and he needs to buy a house and the banks are telling him no, and we help him to figure that out so he can get into his home. Mm-hmm. And that's really how we built our business and our mantra. And maybe that is tied into my roots, because, I grew up like that, and I can see, hey, this guy, he's working really hard. This lady's busting her butt at a job, and she's spending $2,000 a month on rent. Why isn't anyone helping her to get into a house? And so, and a lot of lenders are like, no, I don't want to mess with that, because, she got bad credit and she can't pay her bills. And I'm looking at, hey, how can I help this person? How can we turn this around? And so that's really, Sheila, how we're different. And I think that we attract a lot of people that are similar to how my thinking is that, hey, just because, you have bad credit, your past doesn't equal your future. You don't live your life in a rearview mirror. Yes. And I've always believed that, because I looked at my own life, and if I don't help the people, if I don't help my people, then I don't believe in me. You see, because I was that, and people can change, they can transform if they really want to.
Right. Yes, I totally understand that. And that's what I thought. That's why I refer a lot of people, especially the first-time home buyers, to your programs, because they do not know how to get a loan, and the banks turn them down in a minute, and then they give up, but they're paying double for rent what they would for a mortgage sometimes. Yeah. And it's ridiculous, because how do they ever get ahead? Right. And so they need to know about these options and opportunities. And I think that one of the things, if you're listening in this year and you're having, maybe you're changing your careers and your focus because you did get laid off. When you go into something where you're of service and you're coming from the heart, you will have success. It may take a while, mm-hmm. but it will give you success. And I was young. I opened a gift store at 23 years old, and I was paying $5,000. I don't know how the landlord gave me this deal, but it was $5,000 a month, and I got 6 months rent free in order to do the fixing up. And I thought, okay, 6 months is like 6 years when you're 23 years old, really. And the next thing you know, I hired kids that were also, I came from foster care. I hired kids out of the foster care system that were emancipating. And I had over 200 young adults. Wow. The 14 years that I had my gift stores, and I ended up with 5. I bought 4 of the buildings, paid off in cash with the heart of that business. Wow. Because the heart wasn't selling people stuff. It was serving people, and it was serving those kids. Right. And so whatever you do when you're coming from a heart space, I think it just makes all the difference. It will show up, and it's not that that's what you expect. It's just you're happy to go do that because you're changing other people's lives.
Right. Yeah, and that's really the that's an awesome story. That's amazing that you and I are like-minded like that, and that what you've done with your business and your success. And I agree completely. That you have to. People can sense when someone's not sincere or real, or they're superficial, and the thing is that when you're dealing with someone like a home loan, buying a house, it's one of the biggest purchases they're ever going to make in their life. Mm-hmm. We take it very seriously, and we try to figure out, how can we turn this around? And that's really like, I'll give you an example. We had a lady here in Dallas 2 days ago, and she makes great income, 6-figure income. and she has a low credit score, like 560 credit score, and she's had every bank in Dallas has denied her. So she contacted us, and we fixed her credit, boosted it up to like 660, and put her with a new home builder. They're building her a brand new home, and she's getting her house built, and she's going to close on it in May of 2021. And she wrote me a letter saying that, Angelo, I love your vision and how you've turned my whole life around. Everyone else told me no, you told me yes, and you saw not what my credit was, but what it could be.
Yeah.
And you helped to make that transition. So, and that's really what we do, And so, we are a for-profit company, but we still try to go the extra mile and put in the effort to help people.
Yes. And I know listening to some of what you have to offer, I know sometimes there's different programs that you find that people are not aware of, like first time home buyer deals, depending on what state you're in, how much you're paying for the home. I don't know if that's still happening this year or what the offerings are like.
Yeah, no, and you're right. That's another, I'm glad you brought that up, Sheila. So one of the things that also the buffet of products that we offer. So a lot of lenders, like you go to Wells Fargo or Chase, wherever, the conventional 20% down, 700 credit. We have all these different programs that we do. We do HELOCs, jumbo loans only 5% down, first lien HELOCs. We do grants, down payment assistance, mortgage credit certificate, first time buyer, bond programs through like California, for example, CalHAFA. We do construction loans, we do commercial investor lines of credit, business loans, SBA loans. And so we really try to figure out, pretty much if a customer comes in our door, can we cater to them? Can we service them? Does it make sense? Can we help them? And for a lot of lenders, they don't think like that. Well, they're like, hey, you don't have 20% down, get out of here. I can't help you, that type of thing. And I'm like, look, it's an opportunity. Try to help them, try to figure it out, create the products. You have to be very innovative on product creation, find the products and deliver it to the market to help these people.
Yes. And, when you think about it, it's finding the right fit, the programs that are out there that you're not aware about, maybe in your state, and also getting into a home that actually is more affordable many times than rent is going to make such a difference in the family life. The biggest thing that breaks a family up is money problems, money issues, all that stress. And so if you get into something that actually makes sense and you're starting to build equity instead of just pay every month, and the money goes away, then you're starting to build equity and you have a nest egg. And that even goes for commercial. The reason I started getting into real estate is I started buying my own buildings. And I said, well, I'll get my license. And all the other store owners wanted to buy their building too. And this was in California, but it was at a time where you could still buy buildings and at a pretty reasonable rate. It was almost the same as what we were paying for our leases and our rent every month in the stores. Now, the reality is at some point, I realized, hey, wait a minute. Now I adopted 3 children. I have 3 of my own. So I have 6 children. I didn't want to run the gift stores anymore full-time, 14-hour days every day. And so I was able to rent those buildings out, and I made the same and then more over time than if I was running the gift stores. And so it's an exit strategy for many people in the commercial side of things to be able to invest if you're already paying rent.
Right. No, that is a very good idea. It seems like you're really strategic with your investments, and that's really, really cool. And so, I think any way that you can figure out how to add value to somebody's life, or via a home loan or increase their, earnings or their credit score, that's really, why we're here and what we're doing. And so I think that, in life, it's really important that we all reflect on, why we're here on earth and really maximize, to the highest degree once you figure that out. Because if you're if you're wandering around aimlessly, you're not going to get the most out of yourself. You know. So,
very, very true. And do you have any tips maybe for people this year with the COVID and the job changes? Maybe they used to, now they work at 2 different companies, or, any tips for them? I know I have a neighbor that was renting a home and she thought she was going to buy a home. I'll be referring her to you, but she works at the airport and they slowed down. And so she's been there, I don't know, 35 years, something like that. And now she's also doing some other part-time job, and she wasn't going to get in. She had to give up the home that was a new build, was getting into. And so this was going to be her first time buying a home.
Okay. But is she doing that because her income went down?
I believe so. Something happened, or maybe she was scared. Something happened maybe with the income, because now she's got a second job. And of course, things are finally picking up at the airport, so she's getting more hours there again.
Yeah.
But she was supposed to close, I think, March or April, right when everything hit, and I think her hours got completely, so.
Right, and that's happened a lot right now. So, I mean, what we're allowing, if somebody is going back to work full time, and we can, get just a letter from their employer verifying that they're back to work full time, we'll be able to go off of that future income, because normally when you're getting a mortgage loan, they go off of the historic earnings, and if someone's out of work for 5 or 6 months, it's going to be really hard to qualify them. So we'll even plug in unemployment income. We'll let them, have the employer tell them, look, we just hired this person and we project they're going to work 40 hours a week at X dollar amount. So we'll go off of those earnings to qualify them. So that's one thing to give people solace on, if they're trying, especially if she's closing in March.
Yeah.
By that time, she should have enough tenure at her new job. I mean, at least for us, I don't know who she's working with, what lender, but for us, I mean, we just need 3 months on a new job.
Yeah.
And then but then the other thing is that, as far as ideas how to boost your income, we have a real estate university, which is a great program. It's digital, it's online. And I think I always tell people, learn real estate. It's a great industry. And so we teach the mortgage side. We don't teach the real estate side like you do. We teach people, if they want to become a lender, to, because we put them through that top producer program, and I've trained over 300 students in that. And if they stick with it, I mean, they have a career for life. Credit is $1 trillion industry, and people are always going to want loans, And so I think that if you're trying to figure out ways how to boost your income, get into whether your package or someone's package that knows what they're talking about, and that way they can build a solid career. So.
That's great. Yeah. So this mortgage, it's a school for learning how to be a mortgage broker, correct?
Loan originator, loan officer, mortgage broker. Basically, I can send you over the links to it. It's Real Estate University.
Nice.
Online.com. But basically, I mean, it's online, it's digital, it's over 1,000 hours of content. It took me about 2 years to build it. You log in, you take your modules, your courses, you pass the test, and then you get your diploma, and then you can go get your license, and then you can be a lender in the state that you're in, whether you're in California, Massachusetts, New York, Florida. But it's for, if you want to help people like what I do, you're a lender, you want to be a loan officer, you can learn how to become a top producing loan officer, learn all my strategies, all my hacks, my trade secrets, and then, apply that wherever you are in your hometown.
That's great. That is really good and helpful, because there are a lot of people looking for something and wanting to do something from home that will get them in working. And so that'll be very helpful for so many people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. I'm wondering if you have any advice now for the other side of things. We talked about home loans. So for the commercial people, maybe they're haven't had rent because the people stopped, they had to evict, or they haven't had rent, and they're working with the tenants, or the rent got reduced because they renegotiated just during this time. Any thoughts, or how are you working with commercial?
Yeah, commercial, that's interesting. So, I mean, obviously in the height of COVID, I mean, commercial was dead from the lending side, except for the SBA. I mean, the SBA has done a good job at stepping in. And so on the lending side, what's changed? It's opened back up again, slightly, not 100%. So from the commercial lending standpoint, they've reduce the loan to values that they're willing to lend on, and they're also requiring an interest reserve for payments. So like, let's say you want to purchase, like, for example, a multifamily, and you want to do a Fannie Mae loan, the underwriter is going to require that you impound 6 months to 12 months of mortgage payments,
right,
in the event of a tenant not being able to pay rent. So they're still making the loans. But the thing is that they're going to have that. Now, they'll, after a year, if they see that you're making your mortgage payments on time, they'll release the interest reserve back to you, which is good. So that's how loans are being made. As far as from the investor or the operator, we have some programs that we do business loans where we can do short-term bridge funding to help the investor or the entrepreneur, to give them the capital. SBA is doing a really good job with working capital loans right now. And maybe you can go to your people out there watching, you can go to your local bank to get an SBA loan for working capital. They are actively, there was the PPP program, the EIDL loan. So the SBA is doing a really good job at that. And then I just, the other part, I would say, just let's see what happens, in the next 90 days or so, with our new president. So, or next year rather. So, what the plans are for next year. I mean, because I'm not really sure how that's all going to unfold.
Yes, we're not being political here, but it is the way it is, and it does affect things depending on who's in and what their plans are. Yeah. So that is really interesting. Now, for those people that are wanting to invest, maybe they're first-time investors, or maybe they're going from a triplex or something small and they want to do an exchange into something larger. Do you have advice for those?
Yeah, we do. We work with a lot of, that's a lot of our business is investors. Like we're a Fannie Mae lender, so a lot of investors come to us for multifamily. We also do construction loans, lines of credit for investors that want to build or do fix and flips. So the thing is that, depending on where you're at, I think that some tips are, you definitely want to work and make sure that you get your credit score as high as possible to 700 or higher to get the best terms. So work on that. If your credit's not there, let's get the credit up. We can help you with that, or you can do it yourself or hire somebody. Build up your liquidity. You want to get your liquid assets as high as possible, because underwriters are really concerned about, if someone doesn't have a lot of liquidity. Now, you may say, well, Angelo, I don't have a lot of money. That's fine, but you can syndicate capital with other investors. I'm sure that you do that, or a lot of investors. You can pool your money together. I have a client that's buying a $3 million multifamily here in Houston. And he needed $600,000 for the closing. He only had $400,000. He was able to pool together in a limited partnership and giving them a preferred return of 10%. He was able to bring the other $200,000 to the table. So they had security interest in the asset. So you can always reach out, whether it be a crowdfunding or some way to syndicate money, if you find a great asset. And be, have shares or equity in that project. So I think that don't let money be the thing that's holding you back. But I think networking, there's a lot of RIAs, right? And going to those RIAs and networking and meeting people, like your show or your group or your world, and the powers in the networking. And then sooner or later, you'll get into bigger and bigger deals. But yeah, if you want to, if you if you want to make big money, you have to get into bigger deals.
Yeah, 1031 exchange is kind of my thing. I did a lot of buy and hold. I never was a flip person myself personally, but I always made a great return on everything. And you have to know how to buy too. So, if you're starting out and just getting into investing, to know how to look for the properties that are right, work with an agent that actually is going to help you and guide you and give you more examples and real numbers. Make sure you check all the numbers, not just what you're told, but actually get estoppels, sign certificates of proof of rent, get the leases if you're having a multi-unit. There's a lot to look into. Is the area rent control depending on where you live? What are the rules and guidelines where you're buying? Because you may think, well, I can just raise the rent, and maybe you can't. Right. And so there's a lot of things to look into and consider when you're just starting out to invest. That's when you can make the most money if you invest properly. Right. And you can also lose the most if you don't. Right. So it's really important to do that.
I agree. Yes. Yeah, good call.
Yeah. So let's see here. What I would like to know is, all right, so let's say you're a young person and you're like, okay, I'm finishing college. I finally got a first job. I don't want, like, I have a kid that she's saving up. She's home again because the dorm's closed, but she's saving up. She wants to buy her first place. She doesn't want to pay rent. And, she liked the dorm, but she had a scholarship and now she's home because they're closed. So for younger people that want to prepare for the future that isn't quite clear right now, do you have any suggestions for that?
In terms of buying, or?
Yeah, preparing to buy, if they want to invest.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that one of the things that we do a lot of, with millennials, like first-time buyers, depending on obviously the state that they're in, is we use the FHA to purchase like multifamily.
Yes,
we're seeing a lot of, we do a ton of that, even for veterans. So you guys may not be aware out there. So a lot of people think when you're buying multifamily, you have to put 20% down. It's a bank loan. The FHA will go up to 4 units, and so will the VA. Veterans can get 100% financing with a 4 unit. In California, that's over $1 million property with no money down.
It's great.
Yeah, it's an incredible program. And then the FHA, if you're not a veteran, you only have to put 3.5% down. In some parts of the country, like California, New York, I mean, it's available nationwide, but I would say interest rates are very, very low right now. And I would be, from what I'm seeing with my clients, that's what they're doing a ton of right now is multifamily, duplex, triplex, quadplex.
Exactly.
And they're basically having the tenants pay the mortgage for them.
Exactly.
So I would be all over that. If I was a millennial myself going back, and I was, because I didn't know that when I was 25 years old. I didn't know about that. And I found out about it obviously later getting into the industry. But that's a great way, I think, and the other thing is too, is that when you qualify for the loan, the income that's coming in from the other units, you get to use that for the basis of your income qualification, so it makes it really strong, because then you might make $5,000 a month from your job, but then you're collecting $3,000 a month rent. Now you have $8,000 a month in income.
And you got write-offs. I mean,
appreciation write-offs. I mean, there's so much. I mean, so I would advise her and anyone else out there, look into using these government programs. And then we can also help you to stack that with closing cost assistance. You can get all the closing costs included.
That's incredible. That is very good. And, when I was young, 18, I bought a triplex. And it had this little, I actually kind of built an illegal wall. I was so awesome back then, and had like a smaller unit that I was in the back house, and rented that one out partially to another like relative that needed a place. And so I was making, everything was paid for, and I was saving money right away. And the next thing you know, I owned it, and I paid it off really quickly. I did a lot of the sweat equity and all that, but I actually paid it off pretty quick. And then I did an exchange and I didn't really have a home until much later, because I kept investing. But then you just pay cash for your house. I mean, that's what I did at that time. I was able, and then I actually refinanced and had a HELOC that I used for other investing, over time. But that really made a difference. And because it's income property, then you can still do an exchange and save on taxes as well. I teach a lot on the 1031 exchange. So that, yeah, so you're saving a lot. I just figured, well, why am I going to pay rent? And so it does make a difference. So we will start going hunting for my daughter and her investment. I think that's a great.
I just think it's a no-brainer, especially if she has your guidance. It's just probably going to be about deal hunting, finding the right deal.
Yes, and that's actually the fun part. So yeah, you can that your buy is where you make all your money. Right. And then whether even a home that doesn't really produce income, you really want to shop around for something that's going to work for you as a home, but also as a good investment deal, not just pay the most.
Right.
Because it's the night. I mean, I always get like the nicest home for the least and fix it up. I mean, my home actually doubled in price.
Oh, wow.
I bought it last year, the home I moved to. And, that was just luck of the draw.
Well, that's wow.
My main residence to Nevada and versus California, and it doubled because everybody's leaving California to go to Nevada. And I'm like, okay, that's cool, because I didn't know going to a different state what that was going to be like. Mm-hmm. I still just bought. I looked at probably 35 properties and got a model home that they needed to leave, and so it worked. But that's where you make the money. So apparently, we both have fun at this. So I would love for you to share again so that we're coming to the end of our talk. People can get a hold of you. They can join the course or get a mortgage or some ideas from you.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, so we're with our company. I know a lot of people are moving to, email only and stuff like that. We don't operate like it. We still talk to our clients. So you can call or text us at 832-431-6331. We're open 7 days a week from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Central Time. So we're here. You can text us anytime. You can call us anytime. You can email us. Our website is officialangelochristian.com. You can see me on YouTube. We have a pretty good following on YouTube, Angelo Christian, and on Instagram, Official Angelo Christian. And so you can always hit us up there and DM us, or you can message me anytime. We work really, really hard to respond immediately, and it's not bots; it's actual people that are responding. And you can call us and talk to a human being. We lend nationwide, so we're a nationwide commercial and residential lender, and we've helped over the last 20 years. We've lent almost $2.5 billion in loans and helped tens of thousands of people all over the country. So if you need any type of funding for commercial, residential, first time buyer, whatever, call or text us. We're here for you.
Yes. All right. And what is the phone number one more time?
Yes, ma'am. It's 832-431-6331.
All right. Thank you again. All right. Stay tuned. We'll be back after these messages. Thank you again for being here.
My pleasure. Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right.
If you are just tuning in, this is NBC Sheila Mack Show here on KCAA Radio, the station that leaves no listener behind. I'm your host, Sheila Mack, and I have a special Happy New Year announcement for you. That's right, just for beautiful, authentic you. So in this new year, I am personally plugging in all my 2022 up-leveling routines. That's right, I'm not doing goals, or as much to say as I'm not just doing a resolution that I talk about or just write it down on a list. I'm actually already scheduling in the small acts that I need to do each day that are actually going to bring me results over this 365, I guess, or less now, when you're listening in 363 to whatever it is, days. So at any rate, one of the things that I would like to introduce is that we will be having some talks on business and investing. That's right, business and investing reboots this year. So if you are looking to do a side gig, or you have a business yourself, or you're in a career and you are looking to earn some extra money, I have some tips and different things that my family, I have 6 grown children, we will all be participating in some of these and trying them out and sharing opportunities with you. And then we will also be talking about real estate investing, which is something that I have done since I was very young. So my real estate investing experience comes from, well, when I was 18 and a half years old, I bought my first little triplex. I was already working at Jet Propulsion Lab in JPL in Pasadena, California, where we have the famous Rose Bowl every year right near there. And so I saved up my money and bought this little triplex. It was very humble kind of fixer thing. And I lived in the back teeny tiny unit and rented out the best parts to everyone else. I guess I was house hacking before that was a term. And I continued to save up and invest. I was very creative on my financing, still going to school and working. So, from that to investing in many different properties, I started gift stores at 23. And the first one I leased at $5,000 a month. And I said, wait a minute. That's a lot of money to be giving to somebody, the landlord, every single month. And my mortgage, if I can save up enough to put down, I can get into a mortgage. And you know what? With business credit, which I will be sharing all about, I did just that. And business credit is a magical secret. So if you don't have a side gig, that's why that first part is important with your investing, is to have that extra income or side gig, have an LLC or an S Corp. So setting that up at 23 when I started my gift stores, by the end of the first year, I had more buying power than most people. I had a corporation's buying power. Like, they would give me credit. You can't believe I could just walk into any dealership and they'd have these specials. I'd get the best credit, like 0 interest. I'd be able to negotiate the deals on things, different vans or whatever I needed for the store. And it was just incredible. And I actually used the business credit to purchase some of the properties. One was the headquarters and rental property. And so I had some mixed use, and I actually purchased the other 4 buildings and stopped leasing and just became an owner. And so I got into real estate and investing from being an investor, and then later as other store owners were really interested and wondered, wait a minute, you're half my age, they would say. And how are you buying buildings? What is going on? And so with that, I went ahead and I got my real estate license and started sharing about that. Worked at a small owned brokerage. And then from there, helped and led some real estate courses for real estate agents on 1031 exchange, and have done multiple 1031 exchanges and helped many small business owners and families to invest in property. So I'll be sharing about my journey and how this year, even if you think, this sounds like, how is this possible? I'm going to help you figure out if that's something you're interested in, ways that you can make it become a real possibility for 2022 moving forward. So I hope you tune into my show. There will be some upgrades. We will still be doing lots of incredible interviews with amazing people, sharing about resources and reboots and ways they got back on track and hearing their stories. And also we will be getting step-to-step challenges and ways for you to tune in, call in, and ask questions and be guided to actually make 2022 a wonderful time for your business and your personal life. All right, so stay tuned. I'm looking forward to hearing from you soon. On one of the radio shows, when is it time to buy a new home and live the life I want? My question is, should I move out, buy that high-cost house, or stay where I'm miserable? Signed, Homesick. This is definitely the year for rebooting and reinventing how we create and invest in our living spaces. Continuing to stay stuck in an unhealthy rental situation is not the answer, and overpaying for a home you don't love isn't either. There is a solution to every problem. It sounds like finding your happy place for now will serve you and your family financially and in the long run. Because your landlord is willing to let you out of the lease, now is the time to reinvent your home life. Let's run this situation through the Boots formula. The B in Boots is for being. It is about who you are being in all you are doing and who you need to be during this situation. You are going to have to be really honest about how you and your family choose to invest in the best living space for the short term and the long term. The first O in Boots is for orientation. In order to get the outcomes you desire, you must be brutally honest here. What are your current living expenses? What new homes are available in your price range? And what living space will best serve you and your family? The outcome is happiness now, without getting into a home that is overpriced. If you shop around, you may find that you can rent or buy something that fits better for the short term and save for the outcome or the home purchase that you really want in the long run. The next O in the Boots formula is for order of operations. Now that you know who you need to be and your orientation, you can decide in which order you must do things to move out, find a new living space, and give yourself the peace you seek now while you take the necessary steps to build your credit or just take time that you might need to purchase your dream home without the emotion and rush of just getting out of a bad arrangement. T in the Boots formula is for thinking. This is where your mindset comes in. Stop waiting for the perfect home and decide on a home that honors your current family needs. The S in the Boots formula is for stepping up. This is the part that puts all of the other pieces you have planned into place and gets you and your home life back into action.
Have you lost your job? Have you lost a loved one? Are you exhausted caring for your parents, for your kids? Well, you can find immediate relief when you read Sheila Mac's new #1 bestseller, Bootstraps and Bra Straps. It contains the Boots formula to move from rock bottom back into action in any situation, especially right now. So if life has knocked you down, pick yourself up with Bootstraps and Bra Straps. Get your copy at www.sheilamac.com today.
Bootstraps and Bra Straps, the formula to go from rock bottom back into action in any situation. It is now available on Audible as well as on Amazon and Kindle and at www.sheilamac.com. This is Sheila Mac. Thank you again for tuning in, and I have some homework for you. So go and get your copy of the new Bootstraps and Bra Straps, the formula to go from rock bottom back into action in any situation. It is now on Amazon, Audible, Kindle, and all major bookstores. And get ready to tune in daily as I share the Business Leader Reboot. So that is starting a business, side business, or extra income. I don't care if you're starting from zero, rebooting, starting over completely. We are going to go through the steps over this year slowly together to rebuild, reboot, and reinvent your business and personal life, or your career and personal life on your terms. And I will also be sharing about investing in properties and how to get some passive income going this year as well. So stay tuned.